everyone, welcome back to Hazel Grove Garden. As you can see, the front garden is progressing. We've got a lot of weeding done. There's still a lot more to do, but we've started to really get on top of it. Today we're going to be tackling the Cordyline australis. Now the Cordyline australis is it's quite a large tree, and when we got here, this one was actually about 3 meters tall, but the whole top of it had basically died off, which quite often happens when cordylines get stressed, drought stress. They will basically take a lot of energy away from the top and basically put it into its trunk down the bottom. I chopped the thing off very, very low a few years back, and it's actually resprouted like crazy. The thing about Cordyline australises is that when you chop them down, they do resprout a lot and they become very, very bushy. But I really want to get like a nice tree look. So what we're going to do today is we're going to work on removing a lot of the dead leaves down the bottom, and starting to reveal the trunk. It's this beautiful sort of fibrous looking trunk. And I'm also going to remove a lot of the little side shoots that have come out, because what I really want is a nice sort of multi-stemmed trunk. I'll have a look at it as we progress as to whether I go for like 2 or 3 trunks, but we'll see how we go. So here under the plant you can sort of see a bit better what we're dealing with in terms of removing all these dead stems. The trick with this is a lot of people will just cut all of these leaves off, but once they're actually brown, they're actually quite easy to rip off. The trick is though to start at the bottom and work your way up, because if you start coming in and trying to grab these ones, all of these lower, they basically overlap and they actually lock each other in. But if you're ripping off the bottom ones, there's actually nothing to lock them in. So if you start at the bottom and work your way up, it's really easy to pull out. And it leaves you with a bit of a nicer trunk. You can see I've done this one here. It is quite a fibrous trunk, but over time this sort of fibrous material does drop off, and you can sort of see, you can start to get this lovely textured trunk, which is really lovely, and adds great structure and texture to the garden. We'll keep going. Okay, I'm going to get in underneath again and show you what we're going to work on in here, because it's a bit hard to see from the front. So as you can see, this is the original trunk that's been cut down, and it's got one new trunk coming out of it. We've actually also got another trunk around the side here, this one here, and that one's coming out looking good. We also have the third trunk down the back here. Now the third trunk, as we come up, you'll see is actually split again, and it's actually got 3 coming out of it. Now, I think that's going to make it a bit too crowded. So what I'm actually going to do is remove these 2 front ones, this one and this one, and we'll be left with this third one at the back here, which should leave us with enough space and a nice multi-trunk as it starts to grow. I've also got down here just a couple new little pups growing out the bottom. You can sort of see down here, so we're going to cut them off completely, just because they're going to grow out under the bottom, and I really would like to be more of a tree and have space underneath where I can add some more plants. So I'll get in there and we'll start cutting that. So you can see here how much I've pruned it back. Now, had I been smart, I should have actually shot it from the other side, because from the front, it's a bit hard to see, even if you sort of get down low, to see exactly how much has been trimmed off. However, if we take you around the back here, so you can start to see here how much I've actually trimmed off. So we've trimmed off all of those sneaky little pups from down the bottom, and as we go up underneath, you can see that we've pulled out all those dead leaves, trimmed off those excess branches, so we've now got a nice 3 multi-trunked cord line growing. It's actually good to clean all of that out, because there's a lot of snails and other things living amongst the dense foliage up in there, so that'll open that up. It'll stop less, it'll allow air and sun to get in, which will help reduce those bugs and any diseases from getting in there as much. Well, it's 9 months later, and I've just given it another little clean up, taking away a lot of the dead foliage that comes from underneath, and it's actually starting to develop quite well. There was another little pup shoot that popped out from the stem, which I've cut off as well, but it's really starting to look nice, and it's really starting to take the shape that I want it to. I'll take you in a bit closer and you can have a look how it's developing. So you can see as we go in how much it's actually grown in the last 9 months. You can see this is actually where I pruned it to last time. So where all the white is actually where all the white is. You can see here is actually where I've cleaned it up this time. So it's actually quite put on quite a bit of growth. The lovely thing is I've cleaned out all the inside, and the other good thing about cleaning it out, especially this time of year, is a lot of snails like to overwinter inside of these things. So if you reduce the amount of cover that they have, birds and lizards and things can get a feed through winter, and it also reduces the amount of snail attack that you'll get in the following spring. But you can see it's actually growing incredibly healthy, and I really love the way it looks on the inside. This very tropical sort of view from inside, and as it grows up, I'm actually going to, I'll take you back so you can have a further view of it. So these top shoots where they're coming out, once it gets to about head height, I'm actually going to prune just the tops off them, because when you prune the tops off them, it'll actually encourage them to sprout out new shoots. And what I'd love to eventually get is this lovely sort of 3-trunked tree with all these shoots at head height coming out, so it's more tree-like than a big giant asparagus, which is essentially what it is. We've got a whole bunch of other things that we need to get done in here. There's still a lot of pruning and such, so I'm going to get in here and do a bit of pruning back on some of the other perennials that we've got in here. Things like this salvia here, and also the canna lily. They're all absolutely fine. They might look dead now, but because we've had such severe frost, they have actually, their top growth has all died back. But the good thing about both of these is that they will come back quite happily as the weather warms up. They'll all shoot again from the base. We've got things like this geranium little monster, which has continued to flower all through winter, but there's a lot of old dead growth that we need to trim out. But that's started to bulk up and has even started to spread a bit, so we might even divide that in the coming weeks. And as we go around, we've also got the dahlias up here. We've got this one here, there's also another dahlia down there, and there's one up in the front garden up there. We need to trim the stems back on those, but they've been in for a couple of years and they've been doing really well. The only thing is that the tubers have actually started to swell and they're all starting to pop out the top of the soil. So I'll need to dig those up and rebury them a bit lower down, just so that they've got protection and they can get the moisture that they want throughout the rest of the season. So we'll do a bit more trimming and continue to get this garden up to scratch before everything starts to grow too much in spring. So, as I mentioned before, the canna and the salvia did look dead, but it was just the top growth that had all died back. So as you can see now, I've cleared it all out. You can see here that the cannas are starting to reshoot already. You've got a little bit of frost burn on these new ones here, but there's some others coming through. And even in the new ones where there's been a bit of frost damage, there will be new leaves coming through that'll be safe. And you can see here in the salvia, I've pruned it right to the ground. It looks very severe, but you can see there's a lot of new little shoots coming up out of the ground. And the amazing thing about this salvia is it's such a vigorous grower. That'll easily put on 1.5 meters to 2 meters of growth this year. So there's no issues with that there. And pruned back the rose, pruned back the dahlia at the front there. So things are starting to come together and get a little bit cleaner in here as we go. Well, thanks for tuning in again, everyone. That's it for us today. We shall have some more videos coming in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned. Remember to like this video because it really helps us to get our video out there to other people, and subscribe to keep up with what we're doing, because this garden is starting to get there. It will take time, but it's going to look really good by the time we get into the full swing of spring. So take care, and I'll see you next time.